Well, hello, everybody. It's good to see y'all tonight. um, it's a warm night here in northeast Georgia. One thing I'm going to say is I'm thankful I'm not in South Georgia because it's a good at least 10 degrees hotter down there than it is here. And it always is. And then the humidity there is worse than it is here. So it's unbearable down there. So, and they have gnats. We don't. So I'm thankful. Ann knows what I'm talking about. And so I am as hot as it is, and it is hot. But this too shall pass. And so we just have to. 100 days it will be fall. Well, I love fall. I like that time. The older I get, the more I enjoy it. And I used to love summer when I was a kid, but I've outgrown my love for summer. But it's good to see everybody tonight. Those of you that were able to make it, and then those of you that are watching tonight and listening tonight. We're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. We've already taken up the offering for tonight, but we're going to just talk for just a few moments, and then we're going to pray tonight. And because our church is based off of prayer, and we can't get away from that. And so this is a time for us to come together on Wednesday nights. And Apostle David wanted to make sure that we continue to keep prayer alive here, like we always have. That's always been a vital part of Gateway is prayer. And so that is a focus for us here. It's a house of prayer. That's what we are. And we need to make sure that we keep him, Miss Geraldine, and the rest of Gateway, keep us covered in prayer. Prayer covering is extremely important. And so, anyway, that's why we're going to do that. So I've got at the most 30 minutes tonight. So this won't take long at all. I do want to share with y'all something. I sent a message out earlier to some people, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm going to talk about tonight. You know, we hear a lot of things are going on in the world today and going on here at Gateway. We hear about we're constantly sending out prayer requests and saying, please continue to keep Miss Geraldine in your prayers. Continue to just Apostle David, continue to keep them lifted in prayer, keep them covered in prayer, because they're being attacked. And so if they're being attacked, we're being attacked. So, but today, Andy and I had to go back, and we've started doing some things in our lives to try to take care of ourselves because we understand the significance and the importance of it. We're getting older, and, for years we just didn't do that. We didn't take care of ourselves. We neglected ourselves. And so I think it was the first part of this year we made a decision to put more of an emphasis. It was really after we had COVID. To place an emphasis on taking care of ourselves physically. It's important for us to be able to be in shape so that we're able to carry out the call that God has for our lives. Because if we're sick, then I can't do the things that I need to do. And so it's necessary for me to understand how important it is for me to take care of myself. And it means that I have to make adjustments and changes in my life. And so we went, it's been 3 months ago, we had a complete blood work done on both of us. And his blood work came back just perfect. And so they called him and said, your blood work's perfect. I was like, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I was expecting the same thing. I did not get that report. And so it was a concern of mine, and I was very careful about who I told. I was very hesitant to even say anything because, some people will have you dead and in the grave. And so you have to be careful about who you tell. And as a matter of fact, somebody came up to me and said something, and when they said it to me, I thought, who told you this? Because I thought, I didn't tell you, and I wouldn't have told you, so how did you find out about this? Because I was very particular about who I said, because when I got the news that I got, it was upsetting to me. And it meant that I had to make a drastic lifestyle change. And because if I didn't, it meant major health issues for me. And so, I can accept it or not accept it. And, me just being the way I am, I said, I am not going to be put on medication for this for the rest of my life. If I can make adjustments in my lifestyle, if I can change what I eat, and if I can change my exercise level, if I can change that, and if that will make an adjustment in my life and change these levels and get me to where I need to be, then guess what? I need to make a change. But it had to be drastic. And for me, it was difficult for me to stop something that I've been doing all my life. And that's hard to do. And I knew that in and of myself, I had tried before and I had failed, and I had tried and I had failed, and I had tried and I had failed. And so I did pray about it, and I did ask God. And He gave me, it wasn't me that did it. This is what I know. This is what I understand. It was by His grace that I have been able to make the adjustments and the changes that I've been able to make. I stepped out and did what I knew to do in the natural, and He came along Himself, and He made the adjustments and changes in me. And not just in me physically, but in me mentally, emotionally, so that I don't look at it the same way, because I have a different perspective on it, and I'm going to continue to make adjustments because I have to and because I want to. So there's a difference. There's things that have changed in my thinking as a result of this. But sometimes we have to be slapped in the face with bad news before we'll ever get to the place that we'll make those changes and adjustments. And that's bad to say, but that is the way we are sometimes as human beings. And so what happened is I went and they said that my A1C, which is, everyone here knows what your A1C is. It has to do with your sugar level. Your A1C is 7.9. So you are categorized as we categorize you as a diabetic. And I was like, I am not a diabetic, and I am not going to be a diabetic, and I am not going to live my life like this. Because everybody's like, oh, you don't want to take this medicine, And I'm like, I don't want to be on this medication for the rest of my life. And if you are, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't take care of myself. I'm not eating properly. I'm not drinking water. I drink 8 to 9, 10 Dr. Peppers a day. That is my problem. Those of you that don't do that, that's great. But see, I needed to make adjustments. It was my fault that I was that way. It wasn't anybody else's, it was mine. I knew better. I had been taught better. I had been to classes for nutrition and health and all of this for school for years. So I knew what was appropriate and what was not appropriate. But I wanted it. I craved it. I needed it. And so there had to be a drastic change. She said, okay. I said, I don't want to take that. She said, okay. She said, we'll test you in 3 months. And if we see a change, then you won't have to have it. And I went in Monday, but I found out today. And I'm telling you this, and the reason I'm telling you is because I know that God did this. I know that He did. And I want you to know that if He'll do this for me, He'll do this for you. And so it is a big deal, because she even told me, anyway, my A1C, when they tested it, it was 5.8. It dropped from 7.9 to 5.8 within 3 months. She said, you are doing phenomenal, Miss Coker. She said, I am so proud of you for putting your health first where it should be and making the adjustments and changes that you need to make. Can I stick with this? Most definitely. Because every time I look at that drink, instead of me craving it in my mouth, just thirsting for it, I look at it and say, that right there can kill me. And that's how I look at it now. Now, see, there had to be a change in my mindset. So God did that in me. So I'm just telling you, I don't know what you're having to believe Him for, But I had to believe him for this change. I had to step out in faith and believe that I'm going to do what I need to do in the natural, but I know that he is well able to take what I can give him, confess his word, believe his word, stand on his word, and do what I know to do. And then he can correct this and fix this and have my body align with what his word says. That sickness and disease does not belong to me. It is not in my body. So I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to make the adjustments and the changes and do the things that I need to do. Why? It's necessary for me to be able to carry out the plan that he has for my life. Because if I'm sick, I don't feel like getting up and doing the things that I have to do. And I don't have less to do. I have more to do. And each day, as each day goes on, I have more and more and more to do. So it requires energy. And I'm not depending on the sugar, and I'm not depending on the caffeine. Do I still drink my coffee? I do drink my coffee, but I don't have to have it every day. And I am doing much, much better with it. Why? I know this seems like it's not spiritual, but it is very spiritual because we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our bodies. And that's what the enemy is doing. He's attacking our bodies. I've seen him do it this past year. I have watched him do it over and over and over with people. And he has attacked our bodies. And it pulls us out and it pulls us down. And then we're not able to step in and do the things that God has called us to do and be who God's called us to be because we don't have the strength and the energy. And we don't have the money because we spent all our money and our resources on getting medicine and doctors and going to the hospital and doing all these things. So he'll use whatever he can. So we can't give him an avenue for him to come in. So if it means that we've got to make adjustments and changes, then we have to make those adjustments and changes. You know, Apostle David did it first. He made those adjustments and changes. And when he did that, it changed his life drastically. He's in better health now than I've ever known him to be in. And the thing is that he's stronger. But what he did is he opened that door. And when he did that, I believe that door is being opened for other people as well. And I think the things that we've suffered from, the things that there are just things in the natural that we can do to keep us from having to deal with some of the things that we're dealing with in our bodies. I just wanted to say that. I wanted to encourage you because I do believe that, and I believe that there is a grace now for us to be able to do that. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is we talked about trust. I had to trust God. It says in Proverbs, we talk about it, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. There's a couple of things with that really stand out. And I know that because, see, it wasn't just that came up. There were a couple other things that came up. It came up, I had to go and have some, and I'll just say it, I had to have a mammogram. And when I had one, some things showed up. And not just on one side, but on both sides. And I really didn't tell anybody about that. I just mentioned it to maybe one or two people, and that was it. Until I could find out what was going on. Because I can tell you how the enemy hits your mind when things like this come. And fear will immediately come in. And you're going, I'm too young for this. I'm too young to have to deal with this. This has not been an issue in my family. This has not been something that longevity travels in my family. So when my mother passed away at 72, it was devastating to me because they all lived to be 94. For her that was healthy, that walked 2 miles a day, didn't have problems with sugar, cholesterol, or anything, the healthiest she had ever been in her life, to suddenly find out that she has stage 4 cancer that less than 8,000 people in the United States get per year. That's how rare the kind she had was. And so automatically that fear begins to hit my mind. It happened to your mama, it can happen to you too. And so they said, do you want to wait till June to get this? I said, no, ma'am, I want you to get me in there immediately. I'll go to Athens. I'll go wherever I need to go. I'll go and take care of this. I need to find out what this is. So I will know what I need to put my mouth on, how I need to pray, how I need to believe, what I need to do, because I know the enemy. I know how he comes in, and I know how he puts those thoughts in your mind. And you're just sitting there, and all of a sudden, if you're not careful, You'll be having a bad day, and all of a sudden, you'll start thinking that. And you'll get in line with it, and you'll get in agreement with it. I said, no, I'm not going through this. I got too much going on. So I went and I found out, and everything was good. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm finding out that I'm healthy. And so this is what you need to know, is that God, He opened this door with Apostle David placing an emphasis on taking care of ourselves. I think there's an emphasis, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I think there's an emphasis for us to begin to care for ourselves, to understand how important it is for us to do this, and how important it is to the devil to stop us, and he will use whatever he can to stop us, and he will use our health to stop us. There are people that have been taken out way too young and way too soon, and they had gifts and talents and abilities that we need here today, but we don't have them. They're not here. They were taken from us. And so what I'm saying is that we don't have to be taken out before we should. Long life belongs to us. And I'm not accepting anything less than that. And so if someone comes and tells me, oh, I hear you're a diabetic, and I look at them, I'm thinking, where did you hear that from? Because I never accepted that. That's not what I'm saying about myself. And I just looked at him. I said, no, I'm not. And I turned and I walked away, and that's why I say, be very careful who you tell what's going on in your life. Be very careful who you share your information with. You share with those that will agree with what the Word of God has to say over your life, over your family, over your body, because health belongs to you. And the reason I say this is because I know how hard that people are being attacked here. People are being attacked. You know, Danita and them are not here. And I don't know anything. I just know we need to keep her covered in prayer. And then there's other people. We need to keep Miss Kathy. We need to keep different people covered in prayer. Why? Because their bodies are attacked. Vicky's body is attacked. Annie and Vicky get attacked all the time in their bodies. Am I not right? And they just have to fight it and go on. They have to fight it and go on. But there's a call there, and the enemy would like to do everything he can to stop them from being and doing all that God has for them. So he tries to do everything he can. He does it with all of us. And all I'm telling you is that if God can do that for me in that amount of time, He can do anything for anybody. I know He did that. And I am so thankful for that. So the Word says to trust in Him with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding. I don't know about you, but I've tried to figure things out. You know, I tried to make it work. I tried to do it on my own, and it never worked. But when I put my trust in Him, and I allowed Him to show me what I needed to do and what I needed to change and to make this adjustment, and it wasn't even that much of an adjustment. It was small adjustments, but it made a huge difference. And when you do that and you rest in Him and trust in Him, then He can come in and He can change and fix and do whatever He needs to do. And that's what He did in me. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. That means I recognize that He is God and He is well able, and that healing belongs to me. And because of what Jesus did for me, I don't have to be sick. I don't have to be on medication for the rest of my life for that. I don't have to do that. Are there other areas of my life and other areas of my health that I'm having to believe Him for? Yes, there are. And guess what? I am. And because He did that, I know He can do these other things as well. It's all about, will I trust in Him? Will I believe in Him? Will I stand on the Word of God? And yes, I will. I think it's important that we talk about that. He says, in all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. So, His ways... You know, He tells us in Isaiah 55, 8 through 9, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways. God has a way of bringing things to pass. We can try it and do it in our own strength and our own ability, but God is well able. He is able to do things and shift things and turn things. He can position things. He can open doors for you. He can do whatever He needs to. You can make contact with people. You can try and try and try, and you just keep feeling like you just keep failing. And then one day, all of a sudden, you make contact with one person who has all the resources that you need to accomplish what He wants you to do. You just have to acknowledge Him, because His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He is well able to do whatever needs to be done, because it is for the purpose of His kingdom. So don't think that He doesn't want it to happen. He just needs us to trust in Him. So I don't know about you, but that's something that He deals with me, and it's something that I'm having to learn. I'm having to continue to learn. He's done a lot of things in my life as far as trust goes, because the enemy starts very early on when we're young. You know, one of the first things in a child between the ages, I guess from birth up to 18 months that's established is a sense of trust. They know who they can trust, and they know who they can't trust. They understand the difference between trust and mistrust. It's established in them early on. That's why it's so important what we do every day. People say, well, what do? You work at a daycare and you work with babies? That's one of the most important jobs. They are establishing a foundation of trust and love in that child, and that will develop a sense of self-worth and awareness, security, and who they are, so that they can become everything that God has called them to be. That's why it's so important when a mama has a baby for them to have that skin-to-skin contact. That's why it's so important for a mama to spend time with their baby. And if they never get that from their mama and they never get that from their daddy, there has to be somebody who can step in and give that to them. Because if they don't, it will mark them for the rest of their lives, and then all of a sudden they grow up with this feeling of not being good enough, not being enough, and then they have to fight that for the rest of their lives. That's why it's so important. That's why the enemy fights it so much. I feel like I'm all over the place. But I just want to encourage you. I know you guys know what to do. And I know that there's been times that you've struggled with something and you've done all that you know to do, and yet it seems to not work. And all I want to do is I want to encourage you, don't quit and don't give up, and understand, just continue to trust in Him and stand on His word, for He is well able to make whatever adjustments and changes He needs to make, so that the things that you are believing Him for and the things that He has placed in your heart, it shall come to pass. So that's why it's so important for us to have an established relationship with Him. It has to be first and foremost. We have to make room for Him. We have to keep those things that try to pull us away from the left or the right, those things that try to distract us, and we all have the distractions. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's health. I'm going to tell you something. When you're having to care for somebody who's sick, that can be just as devastating as the person who's sick. You don't realize how exhausted you are until you're actually having to care for someone who is sick. And you realize what a pull and what a drain on that is for you. Am I not right? Just checking on them, making sure that they're okay. But when they're not okay and you're watching them and you're having to do everything for them that they normally would do for themselves, it's even more of a pull and a drain, because life continues to go on and you're having to continue to go on with life, and you're having to carry that as well. And one of the things that my brother and I talked about, we recently, as we talked about, we did not realize what a toll it took on us until recently. And the thing is that there was a grace for us to do what we were doing, so that we could be what we needed to be for her. That it was there. But when the time came for us to step back and step away, we realized what it did do for us. And that's why it was so important for me to go back and recognize that it was important for me to begin to focus on some things that I had kind of pushed to the side. because I didn't have time for those things. I didn't have time to take care of myself. I didn't have time to get the rest. I didn't have time to eat properly. I didn't have time to, I just didn't do it because I just didn't have time. I just had to get up and go and do whatever I needed to do, and I needed whatever I needed to keep myself going. And what I didn't realize is I was putting myself in a hole, bigger and bigger and bigger. But he came in, he stepped in, and that's his grace and his mercy. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I have people praying for us. I'm thankful that we recognize, because that's the thing, you have to recognize that you're important enough that you need to do that. You've got to understand you are important enough that you need to step back and relax and rest. That you need to do what you need to do to make sure that you are good for those around you. Because if you don't, you can't care for them the way they need to be cared for. That means you can't be in the body what you need to be in the body if you are worn down, drugged down all the time. I'm still having to trust him to help take care of situations that I deal with on a daily basis. My stress level does not go down, has not gone down. I got another call yesterday. I mean, it's stressful. It's stressful. I would like to have a job where I just go home at the end of the day and I'm done. I don't have that. And I wish I did, but I don't. I said, well, I'm going to have to trust you. I'm going to have to make some adjustments in this as well, some changes as well. And I'm going to trust you that there's a grace for me to know what is the right choice and decision to make, because something has to change, because it's detrimental. Ultimately, it is detrimental to my health because of the stress that it causes. So I'll have to make some hard decisions. Bottom line. Why? And I'm going to trust him. I'm going to trust him. It's going to happen, and it's going to be good. All right. Well, that's all I have for this evening. So let me just remind you, God loves you, and he really does. And he loves your families, and we love y'all. And, loving somebody is not necessarily just ooey gooey, let me wrap my arms around you all the time. It is work. It's just having, taking the time, having a relationship with somebody, taking the time to get to know somebody, not rushing in, but just take the time to get to know them. Know them as a person. Appreciate them. Value them. And that's love, I think. Well, it takes love to do that. Anyway, that's all. All right, so we're going to end this tonight. So we're done, Tim. Thank you.